Chris Lee and Blake Lovell of Southeastern 14 here to talk about what we saw in SEC hoops on Wednesday night. Before we do that, though, quick detour, Blake. Do you notice anything about what I'm wearing today? I mean, not that anybody would ever notice these things, but
All I see is baseball. I see a red shirt. I see baseball. That's all I can see based on my vantage point right now.
that might be a little hint as to what's coming tonight on our channel. So, God
There you go.
willing and technology willing, just a
Listen,
little tease
I
there.
haven't seen you put any basketball jerseys on yet for our basketball videos, so I feel a little slighted here. Our fans feel a little slighted that you're not wearing some sort of basketball uniform for our videos.
If anybody would like to send me basketball stuff, we can make that happen.
I'm gonna,
So-
yeah. I might wear a Space Jam jersey for our next one. So,
Yeah, I could use one of those. But anyway,
we'll see.
we're always looking to spruce up our apparel game here
Yeah.
at the 14. But all right, let's give the people what they came for. Hoops last night. I'll start with what I think was the most meaningful game. It was Mississippi State really needing to get a win at home against Tennessee. It didn't happen. It seems like State just cannot get that big win to get over the hump now, and I don't like their chances to get in the NCAA tournament now.
No, I mean I think that was their biggest game of the season at this point, and yeah, they didn't win. So I think at this point now they go on the road for 2 straight games. LSU and Alabama, they're not going to be favored in either one of those. So you need to win one of those. You'd love to win both. I don't see it happening for a team that has not won on the road this season, true road game. So, and then as we talked about yesterday, to be a good team in the league, you have to win your home games. They did to that point, but that's a big one to let slip away. So, no, they're fighting an uphill climb now because they got LSU and Alabama left, and then they've got Auburn at home, but that's it in terms of quality wins left for them. Vanderbilt maybe becomes a quality win at some point in the future, but as of right now, it's not to that level. So, yeah, it was just a big missed opportunity, in my opinion, for Mississippi State. Just couldn't make the plays, and you know, I mean, they missed a lot of free throws. That was something that stood out watching that game, and they had their chances, but you can't turn it over against Tennessee. And I think certainly the bigger story is Tennessee here, and the biggest story to me is Josiah Jordan James is someone we've talked about a lot,
Yeah.
and
That's 4 games in a row where he's been a factor in the scoring column.
yeah, and I mean I think arguably that's his best 3-game stretch of his college career right now, just based on these last 3 games specifically. I'd argue just because of how efficient he's been in doing it, and I mean he's always been the key to their offense. He comes in as a 5-star, high expectations. People wondering, how quickly does things come together for him, and it just took a little time to get more experience, I think, and now he's feeling a lot more confident. He's more comfortable in what they do offensively, and so I think that's the big key for Tennessee, and that's why they're playing so much better, is just having him do what he does. I think luckily Tennessee, I think, escaped an injury scare there with Kennedy Chandler. That was that didn't look good.
I think it was a cramp, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was gonna say, but he's on the bench. I think he's ready to come in. So I don't think it was nowhere near as bad as it looked initially. But so everyone I thought did their part for Tennessee. Ziegler I thought was another maybe the X factor just in terms of he just made some plays at the right time, and that's just a huge part of it. And so. Yeah, this was a really good win for Tennessee. It's not a bad loss for Mississippi State in terms of the opponent, but it's a bad loss in terms of the opportunity. So 2 teams heading in the different directions right now. Tennessee's playing well. They figured it out on offense, and Mississippi State just can't figure out how to win these games against good teams, it seems like.
I thought the key to Tennessee, and you touched on it, was just their guards making plays down the stretch. Ziegler, Chandler, Vescovy. I thought all of them hit big shots. They took it to the rack. State, even though it's got some size inside and some quickness on the perimeter, just had issues stopping it. And those were really the plays that Tennessee had to have made down the stretch, and those guys made them for them. The other thing, and I hope I don't botch the name here, is it Jonas Adu for them?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, he stepped up. He got 12 minutes. That's a rarity for them. Again, we talked about the impact of the Olivia Kumwai injury. He's going to be done for the year, so that's how they shifted the rotation a little bit. He played okay for them, and there's something to watch going forward as you wondered how playing time would shift with the starter out, and at least that was the first domino to fall last night in terms of how that could shape out.
Yep. I mean, we said you never know how a team adjusts to an injury like that, but they still have the talent. They've still got, they're still 7 men deep at least probably for this team, and that's, as we said, I mean, really just going on the road and getting a win at Mississippi State, a team that's played so much better at home. That's huge for Tennessee, and really, I mean, I keep going back to it, but take out that Texas game, which I think was a lot more about Texas than Tennessee. I mean, this team has been rolling for since they got blown out at Kentucky. So yeah, I think the Vols are in a really good spots, and they've got some big opportunities coming up too, and we'll talk more about those, in the next week or so. Get Vanderbilt at home. That's a big game for Vanderbilt, but then you get Kentucky on Tuesday, and so big opportunities ahead for Tennessee, and they could be sitting pretty here in a couple weeks based on where they're at. Of course, they still got Auburn at home too. So
Tennessee this morning, 10 in the net. State at 56, if I can read my own writing. Yes, that's correct. Elsewhere in that state, we didn't really know what to expect from Ole Miss and Alabama, and I think Ole Miss got off to a pretty good start. Alabama, I'm confusing games here. Alabama was up 11 or 9 at half, ended up winning in a commanding fashion. Alabama was the last team in the SEC in terms of three-point shooting and hit, what was it? 14 of 22 last night. Shackleford went off, had 30. That was a career high. He was really good for them. J.D. Davison is getting better, I think, progressively. Really good win for Alabama last night. Might not move the needle in terms of net and NCAA tournament seeding and those kind of things, but Alabama needed a performance like that because this is the spot where it has stumped its toe time and time again, and I thought that was a really good night for the Crimson Tide.
No, you weren't wrong about Ole Miss getting off to a good start. They had 30 points in the first 10 minutes. So
okay, I was thinking I was confusing that with State.
No,
the State where Tennessee got up 16-0, and I got the yips on that. So
Ole Miss put up 30 10 minutes into the game. They were up 11 at one point. So I mean, at that point, you're looking at Alabama wondering, are they going to give up 100 tonight? And they didn't, but it's the same story. We've talked about Jayden Shackleford. He's my pick for the preseason player of the year in the league. Like he's, how good he can be. And
yeah.
He just had one of those games he had to have that he's kind of been waiting on having. It's just, and he's had some great games. Don't get me wrong. Like he's had some 20-something point performances, but in this setting, they needed a game like that from him. And he stepped up and, for example, like in that game against LSU and some of the other ones they've had, but like they need him to sort of carry them at times because there is inconsistency elsewhere. And he did what he had to do. He made shots. Now, certainly he's not going to come out and go 8 of 13 every night from three, but, this is the same discussion we've had all year with Alabama is they're not as good of a three-point shooting team as they were last year. But that doesn't mean they're not capable of coming out and knocking down 15 threes in a game. And, to go 14 of 22 on the road, shoot 64% from three, they can do that. It's just that they haven't done it as consistently as they did last year. So I think you can sometimes don't mistake my, point on Alabama of just being so up and down and inconsistent as though they can get to that high point. It's just
no doubt.
You just haven't seen it as much. Now, yes, we could just point out the quality wins, but in terms of just the on-court performance, they can absolutely get there. And that's why we joke about them being a 10 seed and going to the Final Four. Like they're that good. And, obviously I don't think they're going to be a 10 seed. I think they'll wind up in a pretty good spot just because of all those good wins, but it's still a team that on any given night can beat anyone. And I think you saw that here, not to say that Ole Miss is Auburn or Kentucky, but still, like it's going on the road, it's winning in the SEC, and Alabama made shots. It makes the game so much easier when you can just make shots, and they did that more consistently. I mean, you don't even like. That's what we always say. Like, they don't have to be perfect on defense. They don't have to be as good as they were last year on defense, but you have to score if that's the case. If you can't be as good defensively, you have to score enough points to win. And they just happen to have one of those games where they go off, and that kind of counters Jarkel Joyner scoring 33. And, in that kind of scenario, like, that's the thing is, if you think about it, like, Ole Miss did not play bad at all. They only had 7 turnovers. They hit 12 threes of their own, shot 43% from 3. I didn't think
Yeah.
Ole Miss played bad, but
No.
Alabama just made shots, and that's what the game comes down to. You have to make shots to win, and Alabama did that more than Ole Miss. So,
Well, when you put up 97 points on Ole Miss and Oxford, that is an A-plus offensive performance. You don't see that happen often. Alabama is 22 in your favorite metric this morning, the net, 18 in KenPom. And I want to look at the schedule. Boy. The problem for Alabama with seeding is going to be that number to the right of the dash, which is a 9 right now. And again, you've got Arkansas and State coming up at home, Kentucky on the road, Vandy on the road. Then it gets a little easier, South Carolina A&M at home and LSU on the road. Over, under for NCAA tournament seed. In other words, right now, if you had to plant your flag on a number, what would that be? And, 50% chance you're too high or too low. I guess
7.
the over-under. That's what I was thinking. I wanted to go 6, but I'm just thinking this team is probably going to be, whatever, 20 and 13 or something like that heading into Selection Sunday. I haven't done a great job of counting the names, and again, depends on SEC tournament draw. I don't think you can. It's hard to get a 5 or a 6 when you've lost double-digit games.
Yeah, I think what they have going for them is what we talked about all year is they could go into the NCAA tournament selection show with as many good wins as anyone, or close to that. And I think that's what they'll have going for them. So, I think 7's probably a good number, give or take a couple spots, maybe one way or the other. I mean, I think 9 or 10 is certainly a possibility if they just can't find a way to win some of these games down the stretch. But look, I mean, Arkansas on Saturday is a good opportunity. Mississippi State next week's a good opportunity, both in Tuscaloosa. Winning at Kentucky is going to be tough, but that's for anyone. But really, the rest of those games are winnable. So I think the rest of the schedule sets up fine if Alabama plays well, and that's just going to be the caveat we use all the time now. Is if this team plays to its capability, it will win the majority of its games down the stretch here. If it doesn't, then there's a chance it could lose 4 or 5. So that's just what it comes down to. And I don't know how you accurately predict how things are going to play out one way or the other for this team. You just kind of have to go on your feel for where you think they're at. So yeah, I think they're going to. To be honest, as we said, it doesn't matter what seed they are. I wouldn't want to play them in the first round or the second round. I wouldn't want them to be a 7 or a 10. That's for sure. I'd be, if I'm a 2 seed, I'm rooting for them to be a 6 because or an 11. Like I don't want any part of a team like this that is capable of putting up 90 plus points on any given night. But you also know that if they don't play well, I don't think you're going to run them out of the gym, but you can find weaknesses to attack. So it's just it's an interesting dynamic for them, but you take the positives where you can get them. And for Alabama, this was a big positive, I think, to win a game like this and play the way they did.
Record for Alabama heading into the NCAA tournament, 21-13 sound about right?
So that means they would lose 4 more.
All right, let's go through this, okay? Home against Arkansas and Mississippi State. Now I'm gonna give them 2 wins there, and which probably means I'm gonna, on a borderline call, go the other way later. KenPom's got them 19-12 and 9-9. You figure 1-1 in the SEC tournament.
Yeah. I think that's about right. I mean, 21-13, that sounds about right to me. Yeah. I mean,
I don't think they're going to win in Kentucky. I think if I give them, I look at Arkansas, Mississippi State, Kentucky, Vandy, the last two on the road. I'm going to give them 2-2 there. They'll get South Carolina at home. They'll get Texas A&M at home. And then LSU is, to me, kind of a coin flip. Ken Palm's got that 38%, or 36%, but we just don't know health and things like that of LSU and what their mentality is going to be going into that one. So, anyway, I think that's what we're looking at. For Ole Miss, I feel a little badly for Kermit Davis. And Ole Miss is hardly the only team to have this happen. You've seen injuries at several other schools this year, and it's just the way it goes. But Deshaun Ruffin is done for the year. He's the best recruit they've had in some time. I was really looking forward to seeing him and Jarkel Joyner together because it seems like they have one or the other, but not both. And Joyner really, as you mentioned, killed it last night. He got 33 points, but I think it's tough for Ole Miss going forward. You would have liked to seen what they could have done at full strength, but that ship has now sailed in terms of their season and being healthy.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because those are two really good players, but even coming the season, we didn't know what to expect from Ole Miss. They were a hard team to sort of figure out, I think, on paper, and you just haven't seen their full team seemingly together for most of the year. So, yeah, it's been tough to get a read on them. I mean, they still got some good wins across the board, but they just, I think it's just kind of certain times they just don't play, to the level they have to be able to win. And, they can have some of those games like they had against Missouri. And, it's just kind of the Western Kentucky one. Like they have some games where they're just not clicking. And when that happens against good competition, we know how that unfolds. So
Florida beats Georgia. That game got close late. Florida made some big plays. The big story for Florida is Colin Castleton played and had a little thing under the basket where he grabs a rebound, didn't look like much. He immediately headed to the sidelines, was grabbing his shoulder. I think we're all thinking the worst, and sure enough, a few minutes later, he comes back in and plays. But big win for the Gators. You couldn't afford to stub your toe there. And seeing Castleton being able to play through some pain, he's clearly wearing a shoulder brace on, I think it's his left shoulder, which would, I guess, be his non-shooting shoulder, which is good. Anyway, I don't know what else to say about that one, but Florida took care of business last night, and it was good to see them into the game with him on the floor.
Yeah, not a lot to take away from this one. It was kind of what you thought it'd be. Florida wins, and I mean, certainly there were points where you thought Florida may kind of run away with this thing. They were up big early, but Georgia's a team, as we've said. They've been hit or miss sometimes in terms of some games are close, some games get away from them, but that's just when you're a team that's 6-18, you're going to have some of those. But they were competitive, and I guess that's the best thing you could say about them is they were at least competitive in this one and fought back to make it interesting. I mean, they were even cut it to 3, I think, late.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but I mean, if that's all we have to go on, then that's not ideal for a team, like I said, that's 6-18 and 1-10 in the league. So, I mean, Aquindo's back and he's playing well.
He's really good. I really like him, Blake.
No, he's really good, but it's like just don't. It's
I don't know if help.
Like I just don't know what else. Yeah, he is, and it's again, it's unfortunate in those kind of scenarios, but no, there's no doubting his talent, but just hard for Georgia to find ways to win. And meanwhile, Florida, as we said, playing pretty well right now, and they have gotten back to where they need to get to. Remember, this team was 0-3 in the league, and go to 3-5 even when they lost that game at Ole Miss and they lose at Tennessee. But here they are now at 6-5. Great opportunities coming up. Kentucky, Auburn, Arkansas, Kentucky again. So they've got some big win potential left for the rest of the season. So, but I don't know how much you take away from this game against Georgia. So
Well, the computers haven't moved much on Florida lately. In fact, they probably dropped them a little bit. Florida 48th in the net this morning, 51 in Ken Palm. But I'll tell you when I watch them, what I like. And I know that some of it's come against the lesser part of the league. But I feel like Tyree Appleby and Myron Jones have really carried them for short spurts of games and gotten big baskets. I think Appleby got one last night when they really needed one, maybe a 3 late. Jones did that against Missouri last week in that Tuesday 3 o'clock game where he had some big buckets and spurts. I feel like maybe Castleton being out, and maybe if I looked at this, they did this early in the year. November's a long way away, but I feel like when I watch those guys, and Anthony DeRucci's been really good for them too all year, but I feel like their guards have started to step up and do some things at times and make me feel a little better about who this team can be.
Yeah, normally we'd say it's guards league, but like this year, when you look across the board, you got
Big
Sheway and Kessler and Smith and Castleton and guys like that, and it is interesting to kind of look at the dynamic of it. But no, I mean, still, your guards there's so many good guards in the SEC. You got to have good guard play to be successful. But I mean, the thing is with Florida now, I think the storyline we'll have the rest of the way is, can they beat one of these top teams? Can they beat a team that's projected to be in the NCAA tournament? Because right now, outside of Ohio State, they haven't, right? So, because Mississippi State's not, Vanderbilt's not right now. Oklahoma State. So, can they beat a team that's going to be in that position in the SEC to be in the tournament? Can they beat Kentucky? Can they beat Auburn? Can they beat Arkansas? That's what I want to see from Florida, because then I think you can adjust your expectations a little bit. But right now, we've seen them beat the teams they should beat, minus Ole Miss. I want to see them beat some teams that they, maybe you don't think they're going to beat. And I think that's probably the big step for them moving forward. So
yeah, I didn't realize how much luster that Florida State win had lost, because we were back in November, December, whenever we talked about it, we were saying Florida has notched 2 really good wins, and that's something to watch because that'll go in their favor on Selection Sunday. And now only one of those really matters, I think.
Yeah, Florida State's lost 5 in a row, so it doesn't help. So they've got to, I think if you're Florida and you want to feel much better about your chances, just to not stay on that first 4 in, last 4 hour, first 4, whatever. You got to beat a good team somewhere to kind of feel much better about that. And they'll have their opportunities here, for their final, 7? They'll come against tournament teams, at least as it stands right now. So, yeah, they'll have some opportunities.
Yeah, they're 1-5 quad 1.
Yep.
Which is about what UCLA was last year entering the tournament, if I remember correctly.
Well, I think Florida fans would absolutely take a UCLA run this season.
The comparison there was not implied across the board, but just popped into my head.
They would take it.
They would take it.
They would take that. So,
anything on those 3 games we didn't hit?
Nope. We'll on our next video, of course, we'll look ahead to the weekend and another, pretty interesting Saturday slate. Some big games for several teams. Florida's one of those. Certainly for Alabama too, Arkansas. Several games that could swing. Things in one way or the other. LSU's got a big game against Mississippi State. So, Vanderbilt's got a big game against Tennessee.
Yeah.
We talked about that. So, a lot of interesting matchups heading into the weekend.
You want to do a quick going into the weekend power rank?
All right.
Auburn
Can I start
won
at the bottom.
Yeah, we can start at the bottom. I think that may be the easiest call. Okay.
Yes, much easier to start at the bottom. Georgia.
Yeah.
I'd go Ole Miss. I think Missouri's better than Ole Miss right now.
I think with the injury, I would agree with you.
So Ole Miss 13, Missouri 12, South Carolina 11. I don't know.
I might go A&M 11.
Yeah,
A&M's played better
A&M
lately.
South Carolina 10.
Or excuse me, Carolina's played better of late.
Yeah.
Carolina. That's what I had. I had Carolina 10, A&M 11.
Vanderbilt 9.
Yep.
Mississippi State 8.
That's what I had.
Oh gosh. It's like Take your pick on these three teams: Alabama, LSU, and Florida. I'll go. Oh man. Boy, I'll go. I'll go. I'll go Alabama. What number am I at? 7?
This is where you're going to get picked apart for straddling the fence.
Whatever. Alabama's what? Is that 7 or 8? I don't know. One of those two.
This next team you name would be 7.
All right. Alabama's 7.
I
don't know. I'd maybe put Alabama ahead of.
I will tell you what I did
and see
pick,
if you. Man. It
okay.
doesn't matter. In these three teams,
I know.
Take your pick. It's like whatever. Just take your pick on these three.
It matters, Blake. It matters to the people.
Wow.
I went Florida 7. I went LSU 6. Alabama 5.
All right. I guess, yeah.
I think schedule matters, right?
Sure.
I think schedule matters, and when you play that schedule, it makes you. I mean, it puts you under a microscope and then some.
I'm fine with that.
And nobody else in the league has played that, so
it'll change on Saturday. I'm fine with that. Whatever.
It will.
One of these teams will lose a game. Who knows? So,
4.
All right. So 4 is. Oh man, 4 is.
Either way you go, people are going to be mad at you here.
Oh, of course. 4 is Arkansas. No, wait. 4 is Tennessee. 3 is Arkansas, and
toss up.
Yeah,
Kentucky is the popular pick right now. But the teams played head-to-head a couple weeks ago. I know it was in Auburn, but to me that's the tiebreak right now.
Sure, Kentucky 2, Auburn 1.
Right.
I'm sure that'll garner a lot of positive response.
Where do we send hate mail?
Listen, as I said, this is why I avoid power rankings, because they're all going to change after like Saturday again. Someone's, this is this league. So, but we've said like this is a tiered league.
Yes.
I think that's what we have established. Like there is a clear top 2, I think. Although I think 3 and 4 are getting closer to that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you could say there's a top tier with a top 4, but you kind of know right now that you're probably still going to put those Auburn and Kentucky a little bit ahead of Tennessee and Arkansas. I know Arkansas just beat Auburn. I get it, but we're going by overall body of work here. And then I think there's a clear next tier with Florida, LSU, and Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think it's sort of
Mississippi State, Vandy, Carolina A&M, depending on the day.
No, hold on. I think it's Mississippi State and Vandy.
Okay.
Then I think it's A&M, South Carolina. I think it's A&M, South Carolina, Missouri, Ole Miss, Georgia. Like
Carolina
Georgia's
did beat Vandy head-to-head both times, so
that's fine. But I still think Vandy. If I had to take it on a neutral court, I would take Vandy the way they're playing over the way South Carolina's playing right now. So, and that's like I said, we're playing a game here that you can't win. So
and then ain't 12, 13, 14. It's pretty much done for those teams.
Yeah, like
although they show up night in and night out and give you effort, all of them.
I'm going to be honest with you. I'd even think about putting Missouri ahead of A&M right now. I know all those games have been close, like I said, with A&M, but I've just been more impressed by the way Missouri has played over the past month or so. Really about the past month or so. So I would even venture to go that far to move Missouri up further than I had them. So but again,
I'm just so disappointed in A&M. I thought they had, once I really watched them play, because going into the season, I didn't know what they were.
Yeah.
And then you see them a few times, and I guess maybe it's strength of schedule, because they were looking pretty good against some teams that they should have beaten. But I looked at the athleticism, the parts. Buzz is a pretty good coach, and I don't know. I just, after I got a good look at them, I thought that this would go better.
Look, we're going to come back Monday with a much better thought-out power rankings here. I will give you a more defined answer.
In other words, Chris sprung this on me at the last moment.
Well, that is true. But here's what else I'm going to say is that when we do our power rankings on Monday, I'm going to make sure to make the case for every team to be in the number 1 spot, the number 2 spot, the number 3 spot. That way, I have an out for everyone. So I know that's what we enjoy, but I'm kidding. I will have a much more well thought out idea of where I want to put those middle teams like Florida, LSU, Alabama, and it's obviously going to be all based on what happens on Saturday, and then. Who knows? Maybe we have some fun at the top. Maybe we decide that Kentucky needs to go to 1. I don't know. Maybe Arkansas, Tennessee need to swap. Who knows? But man, it's just here's what I will say. I think we have certainly reached a point now where I expect 7 teams to get in, and I didn't feel that way maybe a couple weeks ago. I was a little worried it was only going to be 6. So. And I think there's even a possibility to get an 8th in there. I don't think it's going to be Mississippi State's not doing too well on that, but maybe Vanderbilt. Maybe they make a run here. We'll see. But I don't know. It's gotten a lot more interesting in terms of looking at the resumes for these teams. And you got what 6-7 games left regular season. So still a lot of opportunity out there, and still a lot of potential swings for some of these teams in particular. So.
Okay, he's Blake Lovell. I'm Chris Lee. If you're watching, subscribe. That helps us out. Again, we've got more basketball stuff coming before the weekend. We got picks coming up. We got baseball content is about to start. So thank you for watching, and you'll hear from us again soon.